I work with some of the biggest creators on the platform. Mr. Beast, massive creators, people like Jesser and plenty of big creators. So ever since I was 10, I've just loved creating videos.
This is Paddy Galloway, an Irish YouTube expert who makes some of the best content breakdowns I have seen. He has amassed over 450,000 subscribers, worked with some of the top creators in the world, and has seen several of his creator breakdowns reach over 1 million views. And there's a lot I think we can learn from his video creation process. So today I'm going to be breaking down the master of breakdowns and stealing his style. And stay tuned to the end because I'll be attempting to create an entirely new video in that iconic Paddy Galloway style. So what does Paddy know about creating breakdowns that we don't? How does he make what are otherwise pretty simple videos captivating and engaging? Well, Paddy has become the master of the 3 steps for creating badass breakdowns, and it's what gets him comments like this. Now today, I just want to become a novice at these 3 steps. So I'll be creating a breakdown on a creator who Paddy actually hasn't covered yet, someone who has incredible skill and knowledge about YouTube, Niklas Christl. But before we get into that, we need to study the master first. And it all starts with step 1, intelligent analysis. Paddy always jam-packs his videos with great analysis of some of the top creators on YouTube. But what makes his analysis so great? Well, first off, he tries to find out what the subject of his video is doing differently to the masses. And after printing out and reviewing every single Paddy Galloway script, trust me, it was a lot of paper, I found numerous examples of this in his videos. Just watch this clip.
You see, a lot of YouTubers grow like this. They get to a certain point and fail to innovate and fail to create better videos, and then they die off. However, the way Mr. Beast is constantly upping the stakes and improving his videos means his growth isn't slowing, as his videos get better and better each time.
But here's the real key and what makes Paddy's videos so special. How does he keep all this great advice, this great information, this great breakdown from becoming an overwhelming, muddled mess of just advice? Well, the reason why hundreds of thousands of people tune in for each and every single one of his videos comes down to this 2-step process. The first step is that Paddy always takes his analysis and applies some kind of framework to it. It could be the 4 factors to growing a YouTube channel or the 3-step formula to breaking YouTube. And he'll always introduce these frameworks at the beginning of his videos.
And I've broken it down into 4 factors that I think have set him apart.
This provides his analysis with structure and makes it easy to digest for his audience. And notice how he only ever focuses on 3 to 4 main steps.
All the episodes in the Penny series are built around a 3-part formula. He used the 3-step system to beat the algorithm. In this video, we're going to break down the 3-step formula Mr. Beast used to break YouTube.
I just imagine he started off a video by saying, here's the 22 steps that Mr. Beast did to grow his channel. It's an automatic turnoff, it's just too much. But 3 and 4, that seems to be the magic number. And that leads me on to the 2nd step for creating intelligent analysis. Paddy proves his points. Now that's a pretty obvious thing that you should do. You should prove your points. But this really helps make Paddy's content stand out from the rest. Now sometimes the easiest proof is by just showing a supporting clip after making a statement. For example, watch this.
Ryan is constantly teasing you with what's coming next, giving you a reason to keep watching. Even take this episode for example. Ryan constantly hints at the next city without revealing what it is.
Getting ready to go to the airport to go to the next city. We just have to shift our focus to the next city. To the next city. The next city. Doing some research on this next city.
But while I was doing my research, I observed this really interesting technique that Paddy uses that I like to call an opposite example. Exactly like what I just did before. I just imagine he started off a video by saying, here's the 22 steps that Mr. Beast did to grow his channel. It's an automatic turnoff, it's just too much. By showing the opposite example of the techniques that he's discussing and demonstrating how they clearly do not work, it only serves to further prove how his technique does work and how effective it is. Just watch this clip closely to see what I mean.
The contrast makes it jump through the screen. The same is true of Mark himself. His white clothing stands out. If he was wearing a black t-shirt here, he would be much harder to recognize.
And that leads me on to step 2 of the badass breakdown formula, how to keep your audience engaged. Now let's be honest, breakdowns can be sometimes kind of boring, and especially for YouTube creator breakdowns, it can be very hard to get anywhere over a couple of 100,000 views. Yet Paddy has seen several of his videos get well over 1 to 2 million views, and even had one get over 6 million views. The only way that that can happen is if he gets a lot of people to click on the video, which we'll talk about how he does that later on, but then he has to get the majority of those people to watch the majority of his video. In other words, Paddy has great audience retention skills. So how does he make what should be a boring analysis with minimal sound effects, pretty simple editing into an extremely captivating, engaging piece of content that leaves you feeling smarter by the end? First of all, questions. Paddy scatters questions throughout all of his videos. Just watch this.
So how does MrBeast do this? But how can a made-up Discord conversation between two cats have 25 million views? What are we missing? What could Beluga possibly have discovered about YouTube in June that led to this growth? But the big question is, how is this all possible? What does MrBeast know that we don't?
Why does he do this? Well, it's because it re-engages his audience throughout the video and makes them think about what the answer to that question would be. In other words, they become an active participant in the video, not just a passive viewer. And the key word with what I just said there is it makes them think. This both hooks the viewer in because they now want to know the answer to that question even more, but it also primes them for the answer he's about to give, because he's either about to reaffirm what they thought themselves the answer to that question was, or he's about to shatter their minds with some mind-blowing analysis. Either way, it's extremely satisfying for viewers. Now, the second thing Paddy does extremely well for engaging his audience is giving them tasks to complete. Watch this closely.
Watch these first 30 seconds closely. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is Beluga's constant use of sound effects. First of all, let's watch the intro to episode 1. There's something he does really well here.
By giving his audience a task to watch this, he's re-engaging them every time he plays a clip. Now, he could just roll into the clip without saying that line, but clearly it would make the audience far less focused and concentrated on the clip and on the video as a whole. By actively saying, watch this, Paddy is demanding your attention in the nicest way possible. Now, just like pretty much anyone else out there, Paddy loves a secret. Phrases like, what does MrBeast know that we don't? Or what is his secret? Or what could he have possibly discovered that led to his YouTube growth are scattered throughout his videos.
Ryan has stumbled across a new growth method for YouTubers that was hiding in plain sight. What does MrBeast know that we don't?
These phrases create a sense of mystery to the video and truly spark our curiosity. And just like the frameworks, Paddy will often interject these sentences into the beginning of his videos to hook his audience, because we all want that secret sauce. Speaking of which, I could really use a burger right now, and that leads me on to segues. Paddy masterfully segues from point to point. He doesn't have a hard stop with a title card saying step 1 and then step 2. No, instead he creates an effortless viewing experience, rolling from point to point and naturally segueing. Just observe how he does it in this clip right here.
But the way Beluga spoke here made me realize something. This wasn't his first rodeo, which takes us on to step number 1. Beluga had a catalyst.
But that leads me on to one of the best tactics I have seen him use, and honestly, I think it is the main reason that this video got 6 million views. And that is that Paddy is a master at using irony. Now you may be thinking, how is this thumbnail using irony? Well, Paddy carefully selected the derpiest photo of MrBeast he could find and then contrasted it with the text saying, the man who beat YouTube. Now, if you have genius and the man who beat YouTube next to that face, that's pretty ironic. It doesn't match up and automatically our curiosity is then triggered. Want another example? Then pay close attention to the word choices in this clip.
Yes, you just heard that right. This kid in his bedroom who makes random videos about Discord conversations has built one of the fastest growing YouTube channels in history.
Paddy uses the word kid with intent. He also talks about how he makes videos from his bedroom and even refers to Beluga's videos as just random videos about Discord conversations. But then he immediately contrasts this by saying that he built one of the fastest growing YouTube channels in history. This contrast creates irony, which sparks our curiosity. We want to know how this kid in his bedroom making random videos became this successful. Now, speaking of being interesting, Paddy's videos are very simplistic. It's basically just some text and images on a white background. So how does he stop this from being boring? Well, to answer that, watch the very first video he uploaded to his channel.
Before I show you the figures of how much he makes per month and per year, I'd like to just explain the process behind reaching these figures.
And now watch this one.
Notice how Ryan gives context on how the challenge works, and then jumps into action, and then repeats this cycle again. I call this tactic drip feeding context.
Paddy has made the effort to animate in all these graphics and text to make them more interesting. And all of a sudden, his videos, which are just basically graphics and text on white backgrounds, become so much more engaging because something is always happening. Now, I wasn't entirely sure on what program he used to create his videos, but then I found his Skillshare course, which told me the exact program he uses, and it's this one, which will come in handy when I try to recreate his video later on. But before I go about creating my own Paddy Galloway inspired video, we need to go over the most important step when it comes to making badass breakdowns, and that is getting the click. YouTube really only cares about a couple of things at the moment. First of which, can you get someone to click on your video? And then, can you get that person who clicked on your video to actually watch your video all the way through? Now, we already know how Paddy gets people to watch all the way through with his engagement tactics, but how does he get people to actually click on his videos? Well, it's through consistent simplicity. Just take a look at all of his thumbnails. You can immediately tell they're all from the same channel. They always feature a popular creator's face. Even note how the top of their head is cut off, which really emphasizes their reaction and allows you to see their face even clearer. This is then paired with a dual tone color text of red and black, where the red is used to highlight the keyword of the story. But where Paddy really sells the videos is in the title. First of all, he promises us answers to questions by using words like how, why, here's how, here's why. And note that he never uses a question mark. Why? Because his titles aren't a question. They're the answer. After this, the next words are the recognizable creator's name. This, just like the thumbnail, immediately captures your attention. But then he follows that recognition with a power statement. Something of note that the subject of the analysis has done to make the breakdown worthwhile to watch. We want to watch these videos to achieve the same results, because I want to break YouTube too. So keeping all of this in mind, I did the research, wrote a script, recorded a voiceover, and even learned an entirely new editing software, all to bring you this Paddy Galloway inspired video on Niklas Christl. Enjoy. If I were to tell you that 4 years ago, this guy was a storytelling genius, you'd probably click unsubscribe faster than Usain Bolt running the 100. Back then, he started posting cinematic travel vlogs that no one was paying attention to, and after a year of posting, he was only gaining 7 to 20 subscribers a day. But unlike other cinematic travel vloggers, Niklas Christl discovered some simple yet powerful storytelling tools that would give him one of the best performing videos of its kind in 2021, bringing in over 12 million views and over 900,000 subscribers. And it was essentially a vlog. But vlogs aren't supposed to get 12 million views. Even Casey Neistat, the world's most famous YouTube vlogger, only has a handful of vlogs over the 10 million view range, and none of them are over 13 minutes long. But Niklas's video is 24 minutes long. So what does he know that we don't? How did he achieve such success with a relatively small audience? And how did he keep people watching? Well, Niklas has discovered a 3-step formula that he uses to create viral stories. And it all begins with the most important part, relevancy, giving people what they want. Now, there's only one way a video on YouTube gets over 12 million views, and that is a lot of people want to watch it because it relates to them and their personal circumstances at the time. If we look at several of Niklas's previous videos, we can see that they didn't perform particularly well, except one, because this one video followed the same rule. Tell a story that millions of people can connect with. And even better, tell a story that might improve the lives of millions of people. But Niklas also did something extremely smart here. He leveraged one of the most powerful tools for growth on YouTube, trend jacking. In recent years, the discussion around social media and its impact on mental health has risen dramatically, which led to a lot more creators talking about dopamine detoxes. As more influencers talked about their own personal experiences and awareness rose, dopamine detoxes became a much more attractive thing to do, which meant Niklas was in a great position to get a lot of views. But you can tell a story about something relevant and life-changing for an audience and still not get these kinds of results. And that's where part 2 of the formula comes into play: retention. The best stories are effortless to watch. We get drawn in and can find ourselves caught up for hours in someone else's journey. But what is the fundamental principle that makes such stories compelling? Transformation. In fact, in his fantastic book Storyworthy, Matthew Dix proposes that every story is about just one 5-second moment in a character's life. The moment they transform from what they were into what they are now. And what happened during the story was only to lead them up to that 5-second moment of transformation. And built into Niklas's 2 viral videos, Social Media Detox and Dopamine Detox, is a clear transformation and 5-second moment that many other people would love to experience themselves. He goes from someone who was burnt out, feeling flat, overwhelmed, to feeling alive again. Even the thumbnail communicates this transformation with a split screen view of before and after. Even note the lighting differences. And so people click on the video for one of the following reasons. They want inspiration to do the same thing, they're curious to see the results of the transformation, will it work, or they just want some tips to do the same thing better. But in the Storyworthy book, Matthew talks about how the story should begin with the opposite of the eventual transformation. For example, a character who eventually learns to care for children hates them at the beginning. Yet Niklas does something different. He begins with an explanation. Just watch how he starts his video.
Let's talk about dopamine. People call it the chemical of want and desire, but why is that? Well, here's how it works. From an evolutionary standpoint, your brain rewards you for anything that will increase your likelihood of survival by releasing a neurotransmitter called dopamine in your brain.
It's only after this explanation that he shows himself feeling flat. So why was it important to begin with an explanation of what dopamine is and the effects on it for a YouTube video? Well, this intro is perfect because not only does it set up the key reasons why dopamine is such a powerful force in our lives, but because it gets everyone on the same page before he starts his journey. No matter what your knowledge is on the topic, the video is now instantly accessible to millions. Thus, everything talked about in that intro is very easy for audiences to agree with. And so with an understanding that a dopamine detox could fix their lives too, they want to see what happens to Niklas. This intro was all about creating a compelling why that would pull the viewer through the video. But besides transformation, what other storytelling tools does Niklas use to keep viewers engaged? Firstly, this is a very high effort video. He uses over 500 different clips and cuts, always giving the viewer something new to see every couple of seconds. But where I think he truly shines is in his selection of sound effects and music choices. Just listen to this clip.
I wasn't only able to notice my surroundings while running, but actually during every moment along the way. Before I started this detox, I was so self-absorbed that my mind was constantly occupied with everything else besides the actual things happening around me.
His selection of sound effects and music really helped to change the emotion and the pacing of the video. He ebbs and flows from fast-paced montages with intense music to slower-paced, relaxed scenes with minimal cuts to allow the video to breathe and to also provide insights into how he is feeling. You need these pacing shifts to stop the video from becoming overwhelming. Just imagine if you had the pacing of a Mr. Beast video for 24 minutes straight. Just like dopamine, having lows makes the highs pop even more. And that leads us to the final part of the formula. Niklas has raised the bar for creating quality content on YouTube. And it comes down to one word: effort. When you watch this video, it almost feels like a documentary that should be on Netflix. Yet it still has the DNA, the personality of a YouTube video. Now, gear doesn't matter, and while Niklas does have some nice equipment, what really makes a difference is how he used it. Just watch this clip from the video. Take a second to think how he got these shots. He would have had to set up multiple camera angles and potentially do the action multiple times to get the necessary shots to stitch this sequence together, all just to make it more engaging. And note that all the shots are framed well, lit beautifully, and have the same look to them. Niklas even took the time to integrate his stock footage perfectly into the video. He used the same color correction and even the same effects on his clips and the stock footage to make them almost indistinguishable. You don't know if it's his footage or stock footage from Artlist. It's one high-quality, transformative experience that has an extreme amount of visual and auditory variety. Niklas has not only raised the bar for storytelling on YouTube, but he's also inspired thousands of people to take back control of their lives, all through storytelling. Please consider subscribing and let me know if you enjoyed this Paddy Galloway-inspired breakdown of Niklas Christl. See you in the next one.